There's one thing I don't tolerate, and that's difficult people. Now, there's a difference between someone that has a difficult attitude as part of their job and someone that's difficult. If you're a police officer and you have those hard-wired criminals acting crazy around, then you need to have a difficult attitude when you are arresting them. Why? Because those reprobates will turn on you and even kill you if they have the chance. So that's different. Or if you are an instructor at the military and you need to train the men for battle and you have a difficult attitude, that's different. There's a difference between a difficult attitude as a constructive tool that can be justified in some situations and being difficult. There's a big difference between the two. The first thing, a difficult attitude for a constructive purpose, that's justified. I can live with that. Everyone should be able to live with that because it's necessary in some cases. But difficult people, that I do not tolerate. Never. For the simple reason that difficult people are cowards. Yes, I said it, they are cowards. Why are they cowards? Because they are not difficult against those that harm the human community. They're not. Let me give an example. Let's say you have an older man. He's in his 50s now. And he tells you, oh, the way some of those kids talk to their parents now, if I did that, or if I would have done that, I'm not sure if I would have been alive now. There are elder people speaking like that. And people just laugh about it, but it's no laughing manner. What that man really said was that he had to be afraid of his parents because they may have endangered his life. So you had to be afraid of your parents. Because when their will was frustrated, something bad would happen. Such a parent should have been thrown into jail. Because no child should have to put up with being afraid for someone else's will. No child should have to put up with that. Or some people say, well, I had difficult parents. Or they were, okay, so they were difficult towards you, their offspring, who was dependent on them. They always came with excuses like, I pay the rent, so I have the right to do this and that. Did they ever go to the prime minister or the president of the country? And did they ever threaten them? Or did they ever use their difficulty on those people? No. Did they even attempt to be difficult towards the leaders of the community or towards the pagan rulers in their region? Did they ever do that difficult thing against the pagan pastors that deceive people? Did they ever address the evildoers in the community in a difficult manner? Did they? Probably not. Then why were they difficult towards you? Because they're cowards. They just want an easy outlet for their frustrations. And they hide behind social norms to be validated. That's all. If you have a boss, let's say he has a farm and you work for him, you did what you had to do, you did it well, but just because you use informal language, he tells you, well, if you use informal language, then you work for nothing today. And then tells you, well, I'm difficult. There was some scene of an Australian series in which this occurred. I believe it's called McCloud's Daughters. Okay, but it was in a series. In this case, the farmer could get away with it because there were probably no worker rights involved. There was probably no contract, so he could get away with so-called being difficult. But when I watched some other parts of that series, I didn't watch the series that often, there were other issues in that farmer's life where the farmer was not difficult. So hold on a minute. So someone that depends on you, you're so difficult to be validated by it, but you don't address the real difficulties that you need to face? Come on now. Look, difficult people are the type of people you should avoid. Why? They carry contention with them. They don't want any solutions. So eventually the enemy will use them to kill, steal, and destroy. And because difficult people don't want to face themselves, they will always find some stupid excuse. They always have their quote-unquote reasons for what they're doing. And when you confront them, I don't recommend it, but when you confront them, they'll likely explode. And when they explode, people will get hurt. That's what difficult people are. I do not put up with them. I don't. I do not put up with difficult people. If you have a difficult attitude for a constructive purpose, okay, I can understand that. And I'll adapt. But if you're just difficult for the sake of being relieved, or for the sake of being difficult because you don't want to be challenged, get out of here. I don't take that. You can expect things from me. Yes, you can. You can even demand things from me in a certain context, which is human, but you must be able to account what you're doing. If you're not, don't expect me to comply with you. You must comply with justice before you get any compliance from me. Because the moment I have to comply on the threat, and if I comply, there will be repercussions spiritually on you that will haunt you and those that enable you. So think twice before just willing something concerning me, because that's dangerous. And you know what, fellow believers and others that are subscribed to this channel, the moment you operate in line with Christ and repercussions haunt those that think they can will for free with you, you'll notice that a lot of those so-called difficult people aren't even difficult towards you anymore. When you are around, suddenly they know how to behave. And some of them just disappear. They just don't want anything to do with you anymore. They're gone. Why? Because they can't get away with dumping negativity anymore. They can't get away with not taking responsibility around you. I'm telling you, stop putting up with difficult people. Look, if someone needs help because they are trapped or whatever, and that's the reason why they malfunction, that they need help, then at least acknowledge they need help, keep your safe distance, and as far as it depends upon you, or as far as it's appropriate for you, contribute to the solution. But they must face things also, and they also must comply with justice by participating in solutions. Okay? But that's when someone needs help. That's when you are dealing with someone that needs deliverance. There are folks that you need to be delivered from. I've said it before, you have people that need deliverance, and you have people you need to be delivered from. Difficult people are people you need to be delivered from. Because in the long run, they will be a snare unto you, they will endanger you, and they'll attract a lot of unnecessary negative attention to you. And all this unnecessary negative attention will imply a lot of unnecessary battles, a lot of unnecessary fights, and a lot of unnecessary tribulation. As a believer, you will face tribulation anyway because you are following Christ. But you don't have to go through unnecessary tribulation. You don't. That's why you're wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Innocent as doves does not mean that you are always complying by the rules just to avoid trouble. No. Innocent as doves is the same as being wise as serpents. You're alert and you're quick. You're flexible, alert, and quick. That's why Christ said, be wise as serpents. Christ said, I sent you as sheep amongst wolves. Who sent you? Christ did. He knew very well that there would be sheep, that would be wolves all around you. He sent you anyway. Why? Because he has given you his power. And based on that, he tells you to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. So don't even worry about the wolves. Be alert. Recognize them. Don't play games with them because they're dangerous. However, you don't fear them. Why? Because you have received power to trample upon scorpions and serpents and the whole camp of the enemy, and nothing shall by no means harm you. Christ said, I give you my peace. Not as the world gives, I give unto you. My peace I leave unto you. And he said, in the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. Okay, you still recognize that there are wolves. You're not being naive, you're being practical. And that's why you obey Christ's instructions. So listen, there are wounded sheep out there. Those are people that need deliverance. And then you have wolves in sheep's clothing. Let me say it one more time. You have wounded sheep. Those are folks that have issues and need help. But then you also have wolves in sheep clothing pretending to be wounded sheep. Okay, but they're still wolves in sheep's clothing. So they're wolves. There's a big difference between the two. Recognize them. Someone that has difficulty in daily functioning is different than a difficult individual. There's a big difference between the two. Recognize the difference on time. If you lack understanding, pray until the Spirit will reveal things unto you. Never put up with difficult people. Agree with Christ and be at peace.